I was beginning to lose hope that I would ever see this day, the day that I found an Idea Factory game that I actually liked. Look, I feel sorry for my old buddies at IF because they are great people. Every time I've worked with them, I've had no issues with the way they conduct themselves, and I want to make that clear. Just because I've not been a fan of their games does not mean I can't appreciate the people who keep the business running on a day-to-day basis. I have nothing bad to say about them. Yet, it has to be said, no matter what game I pick up with their name on it, published or developed, I just can't get on board with the vast majority of what they bring to the table. Neptunia, Agarest, Fairy Fencer, Dragonstar Varnir, none of them have grabbed me over the years, and it's gotten to the point now where I am actively turning down opportunities for games that I just know I will not enjoy, like Neptunia Riders. Sure, there are people who enjoy their games, I'm not denying that, and power to them. I'm just not one of them. However, there was one game releasing this year that I was willing to check out, one that I've made clear that I was cautiously optimistic about, even knowing there was a very good chance I was about to get burnt. With Idea Factory as the publisher and Sting as the developer, I was given the chance to try Mado Monogatari Fia and the Wondrous Academy early, so thanks once again to Idea Factory for reaching out and giving me a code, and for providing a limited edition. That was really cool of them to do. I got the game on Switch, but it is also available on PS4 and PS5 and is releasing on July the 29th. I'm kind of expecting it to make the leap to PC later down the line too, though it remains to be seen when that will happen. It only has a Japanese dub, so that's worth noting down if it bothers you, and the game itself, I have finished it as of the time of recording. And you know what? It's actually pretty good. Flawed, I'll admit, but I had fun with Mado Monogatari, and I'm happy that I can finally say something good about one of their games because damn it, they have taken some hits from me over the years, so I will now roll out the red carpet and give them their flowers. Mado Monogatari begins with the titular heroine Fia leaving her home village to join the ancient Magic Academy, where she aspires to one day become the next great mage. In order to do this, she lives out a magical student life penning exams, doing extracurricular work around the campus, and exploring dungeons to consolidate her learning. As far as gameplay loops go, Mado Monogatari is straightforward. There will be lessons that Fia can take, and some of these will be marked as essential in order to move the story along. There are no time limits to complete them, and generally when they're handed back into her teacher, they will open up a new skill in her grimoire like a spell or passive stat boosts. The nodes in the middle represent course credits, and when Fia gets all of them, she is able to take a promotion exam to ascend to the next level of magecraft, which opens up a wider variety of spells. It's simple progression, but it's good. I felt tangible improvement from the new spells I was getting, along with an ever-deepening pool of abilities to mix and match. Fia at first has a limit of spells she can equip from her arsenal, but over time this increases as you complete more side quests. That customization is not just limited to Fia either. There are 4 other party members who join her on this coming-of-age journey, and each of them also has an array of spells to mix and match, along with standard equipment management. Fia can create equipment through synthesis, which gradually deepens over time, and she can also grow vegetables in a garden to make curry, which we're going to be touching on later. What I will say works in Mado Monogatari's favour is that the balance of exploration to downtime is optimal. You spend plenty of time in dungeons, sure, but you also get plenty of time to relax at the academy in between, which is welcome. There is also a light class system split between 4 choices. Those are Magic Knight, Wizard, Witch Thief, and Heretic Hunter. Sorry, Hermit Hunter. I've got trails on the brain. I personally went with Hermit Hunter purely for the added range and the greater importance placed on spell usage, but you can reset this whenever you want if you find you've picked a role that doesn't fit your play style, which you'll quickly discover while in combat. Now the combat of Mado Monogatari is decent. It's sort of similar to Parasite Eve, combining both real-time and turn-based mechanics. You can freely move Fia around the arena, and if you press the Y button you can attack with a weapon. On the top right is an action bar, and when this shifts fully to the left, Fia can use a spell if she has sufficient mana, and you'll need to position correctly to ensure it hits. Higher tier spells will have higher mana costs, but will also have wider AoE markers along with dealing more damage. A neat addition to this game, however, comes in the use of Grand Magic. Using spells leaves elemental residue on the field, and eventually this is absorbed into a sort of power bank. If you have the correct combination of elements, you can use a Grand Magic ability which has no mana cost at all. In order to use the more damaging variants though, you'll need to combine elements on the field before they're banked. For example, if you see an ally use a fire spell and immediately follow up with a wind spell, the two will combine into a blaze, and you need 2 of these to use the 3rd tier fire grand magic ability. It means that you'll need to make sure that not only Fia but her allies are equipped with spells that synergize well together, because having access to these grand magic abilities becomes important later on. I will say the difficulty of the game is quite easy for about 80% of the main story. This was me playing on the hardest difficulty, by the way, that was available, well, at least from the start of the game. But it does start to ramp it up near the end. Enemies hit notably harder, they move quicker, and naturally they'll have far more health as well, made more taxing by the fact that the dungeon crawling becomes more difficult too. The dungeon crawling was the part that I was most worried about in Mado Monogatari, simply because I've never been a fan of it. Any game with dungeon crawling as a key part of gameplay often requires it to excel elsewhere for me to keep going. I am happy to say that Mado Monogatari is mostly in the clear, though it will test the patience of some players purely because of repetition. You're going to be revisiting these dungeons frequently for both main story lessons and side quests, and the kicker is that you must start each run from the beginning, making your way up to the floor that is designated. Each of the floors is randomly generated and will have a portal that leads to the next floor, along with enemies, fishing spots, harvesting areas, and an array of raw materials. Now, because of this random aspect, there were times when I was running in circles trying to find my destination. For instance, some side quests required me to catch a fish, but not every floor has a fishing pond. So I had to scout it out floor by floor, which sometimes did take ages. Thankfully, there are items that make traversal of dungeons easier, like a consumable that makes Fia run faster, or one that reveals the complete layout of the floor so you can beeline to wherever you need to be. In addition, Fia has to contend with a stat known as Vitals. It's represented as a bar on the top of the screen, and when this runs out, it will start to deplete her health. It's kind of like an energy meter. The only way to restore it is to periodically eat curry. So the key to success, especially in the later dungeons because they do get longer, is making sure you're kitted up with sufficient amounts of curry, healing items and dungeon aids, lest you run out, say, 20 floors in and have to go back. And let me remind you, if you do go back, you need to restart the dungeon. That also remains true for if you die. Though in the case of dying, because the autosave feature was quite good in this game, if I did end up biting the dust, which didn't happen too often it has to be said, I just closed the game down and reopened it. The autosave did have me covered there. I do believe that the dungeon crawling will be the biggest point of contention purely because of how repetitive it can be. Having to restart them from floor 1 nearly every time can try the patience of any person, though I can hazard a guess as to why it's been done like this. Quite simply, it was to pad the length of the game out. If you were given the option to start a dungeon in increments of 10 floors, for example starting at floor 30 because you needed to get to floor 34, this game would be less than 10 hours long. I'm not joking. It took me 21 hours to finish, and that was with me doing pretty much every side quest available to me in the main game. It is not long at all. Though to be honest, I think that did work in its favour. There is an epilogue when the main story ends, though that's purely for those who want the top level spells and equipment. If you're satisfied come the credits rolling, you're not missing too much after. And I fell within that bracket, I have to say. Mado Monogatari in terms of story and characters was pretty good. It's certainly a character-focused journey, a slice-of-life JRPG if you will, and it doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it's so wacky at times that it becomes charming. It's just a chill game, one that I could lie down and play while listening to a podcast. I could essentially turn my brain off while playing, which is not an insult to the game at all. In fact, I appreciate how light-hearted it is, and I think a lot of other people will echo that sentiment. So the final question really is, do I recommend it at the price given? At present, to pre-order this game on Switch, you'll need to part with 40 quid, and I think that's a fair price. I think any more would be too much, but £40 is a good price for what you're getting here. Like I say, I think the game has flaws, but it also has charm, and I'm happy I played it. If you're in the mood for a relaxing JRPG experience, you should give thought to trying Mado Monogatari, Fia and the Wondrous Academy. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more JRPG content, and consider joining my Patreon if you're interested. Peace.